Hey, everybody.
Well, howdy.
What's going on Instabook and Facegram and TubeU? We've been getting a lot of talk and questions recently about overtraining. Is overtraining real? Are you overtraining? We're going to cover that. So there's all kinds of different components of overtraining. So Paul, why don't you get us started?
Yeah, and overtraining, it's very, very easy. I myself, that's what I'm battling with right now. So if you guys are following, my other Instagram page, my personal one and stuff, a lot of my lifting has not necessarily declined, but there's like a slight injury. And now this is due to overtraining only because I'm not getting enough rest. And that's one of the components in overtraining. Like for any power athlete out there, now when I say power athlete, it could be a sprinter, it could be a jumper, it could be a thrower, a football player, basketball player, baseball player, someone who's, doing short bursts of energy or whatever. And then, this goes into endurance athletes as well. You need to be getting at least 8 to 10 hours of good sleep and rest every single night, and then I myself, I'm failing right now because I'm not getting enough sleep. So that's where I'm overtraining. The programming's on point, everything else is on point, just not getting enough rest. So that's where I have to change up my lifting split to basically 2 to 3 days a week now so that I can get enough recovery time leading into the next workout, and then, food plays a big part in it too and stuff like that. There's a bunch of different components to it, but like the two I guess I want to address is definitely the sleep and then eating properly. You can eat as much as you want, but as you guys know, Pop-Tarts and Ho-Hos aren't really going to do it.
No. Right. Yeah. Like I was telling you earlier, so Jay Cutler, his thing is there's no overtraining, only under eating. He also has some other secret vitamins and supplements that he has in his repertoire. Mm-hmm. So there's also under supplementation.
Vitamin C, right?
Vitamin C, vitamin D, vitamin A, vitamin Tren.
A through Z.
But yeah. You can help prevent that to a point by tracking your calories. Let me begin some questions about nutrition. That's going to be a whole other video in and of itself.
Yeah, that'll be the next podcast.
But as far as that pertains to overtraining, I always recommend track your calories. Like on MyFitnessPal, so I know, I fell subject to undertraining or overtraining recently a couple months ago, and I realized I wasn't getting enough grams of protein for as much exercising I was doing. Mm-hmm. So I realized I'm trying to build muscle, but I don't actually know how much protein I'm getting. What they say, to maintain, you need at least 1 gram per pound.
I would say through my experience, having 1 gram per pound of body weight, I think is plenty. I know with the women and stuff that I train, as long as they're hitting like 50 grams of protein a day, even though they're walking around 120, 140 pounds, it's plenty of protein for them to be able to recover for the next workout. But obviously,
there's Abby
stuff. Yeah, Abby, just help yourself. Either way. That's important too. And then, we can get into macros and your vitamins and everything else. Hey, abs. But, the biggest thing for me, sorry guys, my dog. The biggest thing for me though with the nutrition, I think the protein's kind of overrated. I think it's easy as long as you're eating 4 to 5 meals a day. I think you're going to hit your protein intake. It's just getting the quality of food. That's the hardest part because right now I'm struggling with that. I'm trying to meal prep. Bob, you're getting me on that a little bit better now. And I've been, for example, I'll tell you guys what my typical day looks like. I'll wake up, anywhere between 5:30 and 6 a.m. I have 2 eggs, 5 pieces of bacon, and a bagel with peanut butter, and then 20 ounces of chocolate milk. So that's my first breakfast. Or sometimes I'm running behind, and I'm shuffling and trying to eat and stuff, running around like usual. Either way, I have a second one. This is when it gets bad. I'm running to Pittsburgh. It's about, 10 to 10:30, and I'm getting, a breakfast sandwich from Sheetz. It's one of the custom ones, and luckily, it's an actual chicken filet sandwich, but ideally, probably not the best. It's going to be empty carbs and stuff, especially in that bun. And then from there, I'll drink a Gatorade, come back. I'm either stopping at Subway, I'm stopping at, any sub shop and stuff like that. I'm trying to get the best quality I can from fast food. And then from there, today I luckily had a meal prepped out. So then I had a makeshift beef stroganoff really. But you guys, like, also with my carbs are so high because I need them in my training. So I don't really recommend you guys keep your carbs as high as I do because I'm shooting for like 400 grams a day, that's really high. That's a lot. So I don't recommend that. But I'm so active, I just burn it. And then from here, I'm usually either cooking steak fillets. I'll have some potatoes. But knowing me tonight, since I don't have the time, I'm packing going to the Arnold tomorrow. I'm probably going to go to wing night. Don't recommend that either. But that's basically how my day looks there, hitting meals in a line.
Yeah.
And stuff. Not ideal. Not the healthiest.
All right, well, Nate, so if you guys noticed, Nate is back today. The vaginitis did not hit him as hard as we thought.
Yeah.
He's back today, and it's good to see
Twice as strong.
He's back as strong as ever.
I'm not coming back next time.
So what are they teaching you at Slippery Rock about combating overtraining?
Well, overtraining in a broad sense, like a lot of people ask, am I overtraining? People don't really seem to know if they are or not. One really simple way to tell is the 3S test: starvation, sleepiness, and soreness. If you're hungry all the time, like they were saying, you're probably not eating enough for what you're doing. If you're tired all the time, you're not sleeping enough for what you're doing. And if you're sore all the time, you're not doing the other two properly. Now, you're going to be sore from weightlifting, that's just a given. But if 4 or 5 days after your workout, you still feel like you got hit by a fire engine,
you're fine.
Something's wrong. So you need to either down your training a little bit, whether that be reps, weight load, whatever you're doing, up your food, look at your calories, track your macros, get all that sorted out, and pay attention to your sleep. If you're eating, if you weigh 200 pounds and you're eating 2,000 calories a day, sleeping 4 hours a night, and you're doing 1,000 reps in the gym, you're not going to make any progress. That is most certainly overtraining. And so just look at it in a broad sense like that and kind of pick at the little portions of it so it all pieces together.
Oh, and then another thing too, like I was telling some of the guys in the gym today, like how to address that you're overtraining, because they're like, asking the signs. And just through my experience, the first thing, especially in young men, your test levels will actually drop. So like if you're not sleeping enough, you're not actually going to free up enough testosterone. You're not going to have the energy. You're just going to be tired all day long, and you're going to ache. And it takes the soreness to a whole new level. And that's usually, Abby, get down, girl.
That dog of mine.
Yeah, this dog here. But either way, like that's the biggest sign you're going to see first is being very tired all the time. Like you could just fall asleep anywhere, and that's just your body telling you like, hey dude, you need rest. You need rest and recovery. And what I was talking about earlier, that's the problem I'm running into. I can fall asleep in my desk chair at any given time. So really been trying to crunch hard on just getting sleep, plain and simple. Like I know my diet's there, I'm eating enough calories, I'm getting enough fats and carbs, and just gotta get more sleep.
Yeah, if the sleep's not there, your body's not going to utilize all those nutrients to repair itself. So, the nutrition can be there and be, 10 out of 10 on point, but if you're not getting the sleep you need to actually let your body reset and repair itself, it's not going to happen.
And I can attest to that personally, because a lot of my stuff is more anecdotal, because I'm just a meathead gym rat. These people are actually, they've been through the school and read the books and been there and done that. But whenever I was suffering from the whole overtraining thing, say it's a myth if you want, but you kiss my ass. But that's another story in and of itself. But so I was doing the classic 3 days on, 3 days on, 3 days off, 3 days. Abby's out of control over there.
Calm down.
So yeah, the classic antagonist split, like what that Arnold always talks about, chest and back, arms and shoulders and legs, day off, repeat. And so I'm doing this for weeks on weeks on weeks. We're looking at over a month of doing this, and I can't sleep. And when I finally can sleep, I can't wake up properly, and I'm always hungry and I'm achy, and I'm like, you know what? I'm really active. Maybe I need to work out harder and work this illness out of my system. So I'm actually beating myself into the ground thinking I'm making it better, but I was killing myself.
Yeah. Well, that's very common, especially if you're very competitive. You think more is better, and what I've learned is sometimes less is more. Being a very competitive athlete, whether it's bodybuilding, powerlifting, CrossFit, or any other sport, team sport, you need to make sure that you're lifting, you're running, and everything efficiently. And one thing I used to do all the time, and sometimes I catch myself doing it, is really going above and beyond 100%, 110% because you want it so bad. But in all reality, it's like we're trying to perfect a skill. And to do that, we got to play around with 70 to 80% all the time. You know, for like a sprinter, it's coming out of the blocks. That's a skill, hitting their stride. You know, there's different parts to that sprint. You know, for my throwers that I coach, certain positions, we have our setup and we have explode in the middle and so on and so forth, whatever. You know, and it's working on that skill. But if I'm going 110% all the time, your body just breaks down, and then you can't do many proper reps. And then once again, that's another form of overtraining from there.
And with that, you know, obviously wanting to train for your best, get the best you can be, overtraining is sort of a double-edged sword. You can overtrain and it will defeat where you're getting to. But at the same time, a lot of people, you know, are very unsure of what overtraining is to them. It's a very subjective thing. What is, you know, overtraining to Paul might be different than overtraining to Bob or myself. So
a lot of it's genetic.
Yeah, exactly.
Genetics is a big thing.
So, you know, a lot of these people, you might not be hitting your full potential. Now, that being said, don't go out and kill yourself, but you kind of have to push it a little bit and explore where you're at. You know, a lot of people treat overtraining like the big bad monster that's going to come beat the hell out of them and steal their lunch money.
Some people mistake being sore as overtraining.
Yeah, exactly.
Sore is good. There's a difference between being sore and overtraining.
Yeah,
huge
right.
difference.
So you have to kind of test where you can get to without overtraining to really get a feel for how far you can push yourself to reach your goals. Because you're either going to be just, you know, below 100% and just kind of stay in there for a while, or you can gradually push it and figure out what your actual overtraining threshold is, and then kind of work with it.
Pushing your luck, girl.
Right, like my fellow Pittsburgher Seth Feroci always says, your body is your test lab, and you're running an experiment on yourself all the time. Whenever you're experimenting with supplementation, with your exercise regimens, Abby, you're pushing your luck.
Really
your exercise regimens, your food intake, and just because Paul can do something, just because Paul tells me, Bob, I ate 35 bananas and 4 pineapples with every meal today, and I did really good in the gym, doesn't mean that I can eat 35 bananas and 5 pineapples with every meal, and that's going to work for me.
Yeah.
You know, so you have to play around, track what your workouts you're doing, how your weight's going up, what you're eating, and seeing how did I feel today, how did I perform, because really you're not going to know what works for you until you actually do it and you see your results. Nothing is canon law when it comes to fitness and health.
And then another way, how I look at my training is it's like a game of chess. What you're really doing is you're setting yourself up for the next workout.
Yeah.
You know, so that's why, you know, if you're doing percentage base or RPEs or whatever, you're setting yourself up for the next workout. And, you know, I mean, I attest to it all. You know, I test myself all the time, you know, like where I'm like, I'm feeling really good today, let's max out kind of thing, you know. No, that's not good, because then it screws up my next workout, because since I went 100%, now it takes an extra 2 days to recover versus that, say, 1 day that I was supposed to recover and then get into the next workout. So you actually hurt yourself in the long run by doing so. But I mean, we could go on and on and on about it, but
right, it's all about finding what works for you. Like there's different game plans that you can have going into the gym with your splits and what you're working and what you're combining together and how hard you're going to work. Like some people, you talk to Arnold and it's reps. You got to pump the muscle, you got to put the blood into the muscle, you got to do the reps, and you got to push, and you got to do the muscle. And then you got Dorian Yates, where intensity builds density. You know, he's doing 2 warm-up sets, and then 1 balls to the wall set, and that's it. He just finished bench. And then Arnold has 6 more sets or whatever, you know. But
yet again, genetics too. You know what I mean? It comes down to how your body reacts. Some people react better to reps. Some people react better to heavier weight, lower reps. You know, it just depends.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is like a lot of people now, there's so much information on the internet, there's so many videos, there's so many personalities in the fitness industry. Just because there's the one big guy that you like on YouTube or whatever, and this stuff works for him, doesn't mean it's going to work for you. It's genetics. You have to, like Paul was saying, you got to see what works for you. One of the things that we were talking about the other day is I'm wearing a Mike Rashid hoodie. Just because Mike Rashid, CT Fletcher, they've been lifting for 20, 30 years each. Just because they can go in, do a bench day where they bench 500 reps in a day, they recover properly, they get stronger, whatever. If we do that, we're going to need to hover around in a nurse. It just, it doesn't work that way for us. So just because it works for them and the guys on the internet, take that and kind of work that strategy into what you do, but you don't have to mirror that exactly because your genetics are different.
Oh yeah, and then I mean, just they're veteran lifters though too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they're going to be able to perform those reps because they've had so many years of being able to do it. And just like any other level in sport, lifting, whatever, you have to reach a new level and push past a new comfort zone. And just so like Mike Rashid doing that, yeah, it's great and all, it works for him, but me being the younger guy, and I'm new, this is my first year doing it, and I see that, and I'm like, I think we were talking about how they did like 245 with the 10s, and they did 10 reps, strip of 10, 10 reps, strip of 10, and that's a lot of reps.
Yeah.
And you're going to kill a noob. They're going to tear something, and like you said, they're going to be in a wheelchair, basically.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work that way.
And that's another point. You have to look at what are you working for, what stage am I in? Because really, the more experience and the more time and the more of a connection you make from your brain and yourself into your body, you learn new things about yourself.
Yeah.
You can actually sense what kind of food you might need, what sort of fuel I need to move on, what sort of exercise, what part of my muscle am I training? Am I using this part of my thigh or this part of the thigh? And whenever you're a new guy, you have no idea. You're just doing some fucking squats or you're curling some weight, and
the
that's
benefits
fine.
of being a noob too is, you could just show up in the gym and you're going to get better some shape, way, or form. And if you guys saw the post I put here on the Basements page from last Saturday's bench day, our two new guys added 20 plus pounds in reps to their bench already. But they're also in the best possible atmosphere. You got all these guys, like I have a road I'm still paving. All they got to do is walk it. So I did all the screw up, and then I could guide them in the right direction. Like, yeah, don't do this. You'll do what I did, X amount of years ago. So it sets them up to basically succeed, But not everybody's going to be blessed with that kind of environment, though, walking into a gym, especially like your typical commercial gym. And we're going to pick on Planet Fitness again, you know what I mean? Because they judge everybody, not the basement. Either way.
And just throwing this out there, we did have cookies today. There were cookies at the gym.
Yes.
We didn't have pizza and bagels, but we did have some cookies.
We're getting there, one week at a time.
The cookies is a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
I would say so.
Next week we'll have cookies and hugs.
Yes.
Like,
lots of Abby hugs. The best kind of hugs. Say hi, Abby.
You mean like hugs as in like the juice box, or like hugs as in like
both. Let's have both. Abby hugs and huggies. I think that's what they are, right?
Yep.
There we go.
I like Capri Suns.
I'm not gonna lie. I'm that guy who dives into the cooler at like the family function. You got the beer cooler, and I'm like, ooh, Capri Sun Huggies. Well, actually, you saw that firsthand. I got a house in them.
We're at the track meet the other day, and as soon as we get there, Paul's like, I see Capri Suns.
Yeah.
He goes over and he's like, all right, Capri Sun.
Like one after another.
Yeah.
I don't know how many I drank.
Someone's like, hey, what happened to all the Capri Suns? We've been here for like 45 minutes. And Paul was just doing fucking all kinds of
I
Capri
was
Suns.
sorry, but I'm not sorry.
Yeah.
Like a grown child.
Oh
well.
But back on health and fitness.
Yeah, anyways.
So with overtraining, I guess really, unless you guys have any new information you want to share before we close up.
I guess one more thing here in like closing, and I'm trying to remember off the top of my head, like you have the 3 different body types, and now this might help you guys with like your diets and training and how certain people react to maybe to help avoid overtraining and stuff. But you have like what, your endomorphs, your ectomorphs, and then mesomorphs. So like those 3 body types, I would recommend for any of you noobs out there, look into that and just see what kind of body type you are and what other professional like lifters or athletes are built like you.
Yeah.
Because like for myself, I looked at like Stan Efforting when I was really like coming up. We have a very similar build and we react similar, very similar to like certain workouts, you know what I mean? Like where we can lift heavy, but at the same time we react really well to high rep, to build. So that's just like my 2 cents with that and what I discovered over time and whatnot. But
considering that too, talking about new guys coming into lifting and that sort of thing. I know earlier Paul was talking about soreness, and he said confusing soreness with overtraining. Like I said, if you're sore, like overly sore for days at a time, that's going to be overtraining. But especially if you're new to this, coming into it, you got to listen to your body, get that feel for your body, get that back and forth between your mind and your muscles, if you're overly sore or you have a pain that
How do you stay
you
down?
might confuse for soreness, you're gonna get injuries from overtraining and doing too much that might come off as soreness, but is gonna eventually develop into a deeper problem. If you're doing, like Paul mentioned earlier, tearing a muscle, something like that, if you're doing those ridiculous bench days or something like that, and it just kind of snowballs and everything like that. So, push to where you're breaking your limits, but at the same time, just keep an ear out to your muscles and your body to really stay on the same page with it.
I think it's because I ate that peanut butter sandwich earlier. I probably still smell like peanut butter.
Well, she wants what everybody eats.
That is true.
She's a pig.
But I guess just to close everything up, just kind of put everything in a little box and give it back to you. So really, overtraining is very subjective. Some people are going to say it doesn't exist, it's a myth, etc. You really got to figure this out for yourself. But I will tell you that if you feel like you're very sick or your immune system's going and you're not getting any better and you're achy and you're not performing well, chances are you could be overtraining. So just, like I said, be tracking what you eat, be tracking your workouts, and find out what works for you and puts you in the most optimal position to grow and get stronger and bigger and faster whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
No, plain and simple. You guys, you have to experiment to figure it out. You're gonna have to overtrain a few times to learn your body. Plain and simple.
It's
And that's the thing is, figuring out to where you need to be. If you overtrain a couple times, we've all done it. Overtraining, for a month or two, like figuring out what your limits are and learning that, so then for the next years you can, reach that limit and be efficient. It's not going to ruin everything doing that a couple times, but just don't figure out what your overtraining is and then continually do that time after time after time after time to think you'll get past that.
Don't be me. I'm a stubborn asshole, and I'll push myself so far. You know what I mean? It's like, you gotta calm down. Live to lift another day kind of thing is the mentality I've been trying to drill in my own head.
Yeah.
Save it for another day.
right. I think a wise Chinese philosopher once said, "You got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away, and know when to run." I think that's Kenny Rogers.
Yeah.
That's Kenny Rogers, not a Chinese philosopher.
Close enough.
All right.
That's almost there.
Well, it's the Basement Guys and Abby signing off. Let us know what you guys want to know about nutrition going into next week. Be on standby. We got a new body meat sauce video coming out. We're going to show you how to meal prep. We're still in coordination with the president of Pumpitude, Donald Pump. So we got him coming up. And then if you haven't checked out our deadlift series, that started off this week with the basics of the deadlift. The next week we're gonna show you how to push through some sticking points in the deadlift. So that's all we got. We'll see you guys next week.
Peace. We got so many